Hi, welcome to my channel. This is the in-bed worm bin check-in. Right, I mentioned on our very first video that the 6 different worm bins that I've actually got in my garden, on a raised bed. I'm just going to showcase or show to you what I see over the night when the temperatures actually got down really cooler than the highs of 110 in the Arizona summer. So okay, see the worms that are there on the lid, and the worms that are actually on the ground as well. And this is what I kind of mentioned earlier on, that I think that the worms treat this as a nursery. Let me kind of take the lid away. Look at the worms in the bin cover. Okay, so I had a lot of the vegetables or the kitchen waste. I loaded this bin to the brim actually. Now all of them have either eaten by the earthworms or other bugs in the ground, and they've all kind of converted them into. Oh, I see a lot of mites here as well. If you can see, there are a lot of mites. I'll probably put the neem cake to kind of get rid of them, but that's something that you would see in Nam. And if you see, these are all the food waste that's actually that's getting converted into worm food, and there's so much of worms on the top. The worms are actually making really good of all the vegetables and the fruits and leaves that I actually put in this bin earlier on. It's starting to smell a little bit, but it's really not the smell of worms, it's more of the smell of the decaying food. It's the decayed food that I'm being told that the earthworms actually convert to or eat, and they convert into compost. So I'm not going to actually turn it all the way around. I still think there's a lot of way to go, a lot more to go before all of the food waste becomes converted into vermicompost. But this is a good kind of a stage where at least the food that I put on top has been converted, and I see a lot of worm compost on the top, but the food below is still kind of in different states of decay, and they'll all be converted into earthworm, the compost eventually. So this is a check-in for bin 1, and I'll probably concatenate other videos that I create of the other bins in this same video. Right, this is bin 1 check-in. Let's move on to bin 2 in a few seconds. This is in bed vermiculture worm bin 2 check-in. I'm assuming this is also in the same state. Yes, they are. If you can see, a lot of baby worms on the lid. Temperature is pretty warm. Even this bin I actually had put a lot of veggies and fruits to the brim, and they've all kind of been decomposed. I see a lot of earthworm compost on top, but in the bottom I should see food in different states of decay. Hey, this is doing much better than bin 1. If you notice, Look at the number of worms here. And if you see the holes, that they have on the bin where worms can go in and out of the garden, and sometimes you would actually see worms kind of in transition between the bin and the ground itself. Look at the number of worms. And they're all baby worms. And this is one of the main reasons as to why I believe that earthworms actually kind of converts these into their nurseries, where they actually go in and out of the bin, but they use this place to kind of raise cocoons and or put in cocoons and then have these cocoons give birth to worms. And the worms actually do really good in this warmer temperature kind of a place where there's a lot of food and they can actually raise. So if you see, look at the worms, look at the number of worms that I have here. Okay, this is worm bin, in bed worm compost, vermicompost bin 2 check-in. I'll probably check in at least a few others today. All right, see you in bin 3. Alrighty, here we are in bin 3, the in bed vermicompost worm bin 3. Let's see how this bin is doing. Almost the same state as the others. I see a lot of worms in the bin. A lot of them are on top. This is primarily because the temperature is pretty hot. Alrighty, let's see. Look at that. Look at the worms. There's still a lot of food. It still needs to decay, so I'm sure that it'll take a while for all the food that I put in this worm bin to completely decompose and have the earthworms to convert them. Oh, this is one of those avocado pits that I put. They're doing wonders on this one. See, I've never seen this many worms in this bin at all, right? So when I initially put the food, I didn't see this many worms, and again, not this many young ones either. So I'm sure that this is where the worms actually come in and lay the eggs and cocoons, and then eventually the cocoons actually hatch all these baby worms, given that there's a lot of food here for them. So this is bin 3. We'll check the other 3 in a few minutes. This is bin number 4. Let's see how this is doing, because this is actually right in the way of the sun. I've put some mulch on top so that it keeps it kind of cool. Okay, I see a lot of worm compost on top and a lot of worms underneath them as well. Look at this, look at this. Again, this bin has a long way to go. It still has, and if you see here, the holes that actually goes into the worm bin, and the worms go in and out of these worm bins into these bins, from the raised bed into the bins. And this is, I'm glad I was able to at least showcase one of those. I have one of these avocado seeds here. Okay, this bin is doing great. Still has a long way to go before they compost. Okay, this is bin 4, 2 more to go. This is worm bin 5. This is where I had a lot of the zucchini, and I actually removed them and the zucchinis died. I have watermelons going on here, some beans, some cabbage. I think I'm going to remove them in a while, because in summer they're not doing that good. Next time around I'll harvest them, or I'll actually plant them in early winter and harvest them in Jan, Feb, or early spring. This is the cucumbers. We had a few cucumbers this season already. Okay, let's see the worms, how are they doing. I don't have a good feeling about these, because I do see some worms on top. Okay, this one is still like pretty warm on the top, but I see a lot of food decay in the bottom, and I'm sure I would be able to see a lot of worms in the bottom as well. Okay, this one has a way to go. I put a lot of carbon on top, so I'm hoping this will actually take a little bit longer for it to completely convert all of the food and the carbon that I have on top into vermicompost. But I'm not quite worried about this. Like I said, the worms, I know when I actually remove these plants, I look into the bins, there's a lot of worms in the bins. So sorry, in the raised bed. So there are a lot of worms in the raised bed in and around the bin. They just go in and out of the bins to kind of eat food and then go out back into the raised bed as well. So this is 5, 1 more to go. This is the 6th and the last in bed vermicompost bin that we're going to look at. In this raised bed I actually have a couple of different type of brinjals. So I have different type of eggplants here, this kind. Actually have the white variety here. Some other plants are actually growing up, I forget, I don't know what exactly they are. So I do have a lot of these eggplants, a couple of okras here, some peppers, and again some beans and onions. So this is what I have in this raised bed. Let's see how I have some bell peppers as well. This bell pepper isn't doing that quite well. We had harvested a few. This one I see a lot of small bell peppers, so I'm sure we'll actually have a good harvest in this. We've already kind of harvested a few from this bell pepper plant. Anyhow, so let's look at the earthworm. These are good signs. I see a lot of earthworms on the lid itself, which by itself is a good sign. A lot of earthworms. You can see, here. So you see a lot of earthworms on the top. So they're doing good with the food. They're converting the food into vermicompost. See a lot of mites as well, but mites are not something I should worry about. They're not going to hurt the earthworms themselves. But this has food. It is still pretty fresh, and so this bin, it'll take a while before it completely converts into pure worm compost. But it's doing good. I didn't see this many worms the first time when I actually put these veggies or kitchen waste into them. And again, one thing I wanted to show is, like I have these holes that I have, these worms actually go in and out of these worm holes, the holes from the raised bed garden into the worm bin. And you see how much of small worms, baby worms that you see. And again, another reason as to why I'm a person who believes in data, and I'm able to kind of show data that I see a lot of baby worms in these worm bins. So my assumption, at least based on the data I've seen, is that the worms are using these bins as nurseries. If someone is able to prove me wrong or tell me otherwise, please do so in your comments field, and once I have enough data, I would change my mind about it. Alright, I think this is enough for the day. So we've looked at all the 6 in-bed vermicompost bins, and they're all in different stages of, the foods that I put in them are in different stages of decay. The worms are doing great in most of them, except for the one that I just showed just before this, where I didn't see that many worms. But every other bin I've seen hell a lot of young worms or baby worms, which is a great sign that they're doing the job that they're supposed to. And which also means that the raised bed that I have will have a lot of worms in them. I don't intend to remove the worms from these bins and use it into my vermiculture in the box that I have. These worms, I just want to leave them here. As they mature, they will go into the raised bed and kind of keep them aerated and help the plants as much as they can. So that was the whole intent of even putting these in bed vermicompost bins. Let's see how they pan out. So that's all I had. If you like the video, please give us your like, subscribe if you haven't already, and if there's any comments or anything you have to say, please do so in the comments field. All right, thank you. Hope to see you all in another video. Have a good day. Bye bye.